There we go.
Good.
Yes, go.
A child excitedly tells a story to a parent who nods while scrolling on their phone. The parent hears the words but misses the meaning. Later that night, the child stopped sharing altogether, not because the parent was rude, but because the child felt unseen. The parent was physically there, but not present. So the word presence is what we're going to cover in today's episode of Let Your Words Count, episode number 62. We got a little bit of a skeleton crew here today. It's just Ethan and I, our fellow co-hosts, Mike and James Cole are not with us today, but they're still doing well and just had some other things going on today. So, Ethan, what you got going on today, man?
Not much. I think nothing much at all, but I do really appreciate that parable that you put, in front of the show just to kind of pinpoint the direction of our conversation in some type of way.
Mm-hmm.
Can you read that one more time?
For sure. A child excitedly tells a story to a parent who nods while scrolling on their phone. The parent hears the words but misses the meaning. Later that night, the child stopped sharing altogether, not because the parent was rude, but because the child felt unseen. The parent was physically there, but not present.
That speaks volumes of what we see today in our culture, and I think that presence is a very powerful word to discuss today.
It's a fleeting thing these days too, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Definition.
For the definition of presence, we have presence is the state of being fully attentive, aware, and engaged in the current moment, mentally, emotionally, and physically. One more time, presence is the state of being fully attentive, aware, and engaged in the current moment, mentally, emotionally, and physically.
Powerful, man.
That's good stuff. You want to take the etymology for us, E?
Oh, yeah. Etymology from Latin praesentia, meaning being at hand, rooted in pre, before, and esse, to be. Presence literally means to be here.
Good stuff. Good stuff. What do we got for that emotional lens?
All right. So for presence, the emotional lens, my favorite is the positive side is calm, connection, clarity, grounding. The negative side is discomfort or restlessness when stillness reveals unresolved thoughts or emotions. Now, let me read that one more time for the negative side. Discomfort or restlessness when stillness reveals unresolved thoughts or emotions. And why? Because presence removes distraction when there's nothing to escape into. We meet ourselves fully, and that can feel both peaceful and challenging. Now, G, before we got started, you thought about the negative side. What was your thoughts on that again?
I'm just noticing that there's so the positive side, right? It's talking about calm, connection, which immediately implies like a connection between more than one person, right? Clarity, grounding. I don't think there's a positive. I'm sorry. I don't think there's a negative result of being present with another person. You can have positive presence for yourself, positive presence with somebody else. But I'm noticing that everything that it's talking about for negative here is in terms of facing and dealing with yourself, right? So the discomfort, restlessness when stillness reveals unresolved thoughts or emotions, that's having to, not being able to escape and being forced to kind of confront something that you have going on within. So people might take some negative feeling out of presence, but it's usually not going to be because you're being present with somebody else. It's that presence alone when you have to face some things or deal with things that maybe you didn't want to or didn't feel ready to.
Wow, that's pretty good, man. Pretty good. All right, let's get started, man.
Yeah, man. So what's on your mind with this one, man? It's like I know we had pause and metacognition that we were dealing with before this. How do you feel this one ties in?
Oh, I think it ties in actually beautifully from a an actionable operation in thought. So when you think about presence, you know, you have a pause. A pause is an action, right? But what do you do after that pause, right? When you think about the metacognition part, are you, you know, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? And last week we were talking about allowing no judgment to be in the part of the process. So while you are in the present mode, what are your intentions? What is your awareness while you are operating in that presence mode? You know, so when you kind of you have to exercise the opportunity to not judge, but take the thoughts as is. Don't pass any judgment or anything like that. Be in the moment. Be in the midst of chaos, even peace. You can stay there in that moment and be able to sit and rest and not be, can you say not be moved by what's going on? So I will say that you've challenged yourself not to be moved in that moment in time.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
What do you think?
Well, I think I'm looking at too. I see a lot of, I'm thinking about a lot of, there's a lot of references to being physically there, but still not being present. Even like in the parable we kind of started with, that's the important, I guess kind of like the kind of the fulcrum, so to speak, of this conversation is like you can be physically there and still have your mind somewhere else. And that's where people might feel like you're, you know, while being physically there, you're still emotionally distant or somewhere else, therefore not engaged or not present, right? So I think that's where I think is the strength of this word in terms of drawing our focus and our attention and minimizing or eliminating distractions while the moment requires us to be present, right? While the moment requires us to be there, to be giving our attention or to be contributing in some way. If we're off in la la land, if we're daydreaming, if we're thinking about the game last night, if we're doing all these other things and sitting there and giving the impression of being attentive, the impression of being engaged and involved in the conversation, but really you're not, that's what we're talking about for presence today, right?
So is that what you say? Oh, we have a comment right here.
What's up?
From Mike. And one line at a time. Thanks for the lens and look at the negative, Gary. Yeah, that was spot on. But Mike, and what's going on, Mike? He said, I think that stillness can come in interpersonal relationships as well. An example would be the quiet moments that follow disagreements or fights. The negative emotional lens. Yes, I totally agree with that. Yep,
Makes sense.
yep, that's spot on.
That makes sense.
I remember there was a point where with my son, and I know this a couple of weeks ago, my wife and my son had a conversation, and I was just like, just do it, right? And he did what he was supposed to do, but I had to pause, and I had to get myself to a moment where I didn't reduce myself into anger. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So in that moment, it was urgent, and I don't like the word urgent. It's not necessarily I don't like the word. I think we have to be careful with the word urgent. So there was a point in time where I had to be aware of my thoughts and aware of the impact that can happen if I wasn't properly in the right mode and moment in presence at that moment. You know what I'm saying? Did that make sense?
That's perfect, bro.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're stepping up to the moment, right? You're living in the present moment and not somewhere else. You're focused on what's in front of you and how to make that moment weighty in a way, right? You're trying to make sure like that moment that you don't lose something important, but you have an opportunity to build somebody else up or to be, again, be present and give your attention there. Because we talked about this as an action, right? And as a thing that can be practiced to be improved on, I think it's going to be important for people to kind of think through at what point or during what activity do you feel the most present, right? So ask you that question. Like, what things do you do that you feel bring you, or that you find it easiest to be present in the moment when you're doing something, some activity or whatever. And let's keep it PG.
Right. Right. So I think writing. I think
Beautiful.
writing poetry. I think I think that there's a value of stillness. What Mikey was talking about. There's a value because I really believe that if you properly execute what we were talking about. We were talking about earlier about how we view how God deals with us.
Yes.
It's like God's line, so to speak. When I talk about God's line, that means his process is endless. It's infinite, right? We're trying to catch up, right? So there's the moment in time where I find my presence is really understanding how to find myself in the process, the wavelengths, the frequency of how God has already institutionalized. Because if you look at the heavens, if you look at space, Jupiter, if you look at Mars and all the planets, and they do exactly what they're supposed to do, and they do affect this particular universe in some type of way. I believe we're impacted in some type of way, possibly negatively, possibly positively. But in that presence, I told you I would love to get away from the distractions, because that's why I write to be in the zone, because I look at in the presence is in the zone. If I can sit there and kind of meditate and just think about my thoughts, going back to the metacognition, that pause is actionable. And then within that pause, what do you want to do? So I want to engage into a metacognition mode. And what we were saying last week struck me differently, because past judgment, right? Like don't even think about it. Don't even think about judgment. That means like you have to step outside, you remove yourself out of the equation so you can just see and observe your thoughts as is, or whatever the situation is.
Right.
So when I'm thinking about like, you knew before the conversation today, I talked about a couple of things that I'm going through. And I wish I could just sit on a park bench and just watch the galaxy go by sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like if I can view the universe and the black holes and the stars and flying, comets and different things like that, I would just be at peace just looking at that. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of where I know I said a lot, but there's a lot going on in my mind, but I truly value that my time and that presence in that meditation mode like that. Right.
Love it.
But go ahead, bro.
No, that's good. Because I think in this one, because this is a word. This is the word that does a lot of heavy lifting, both in terms of our, like you said, meditation, metacognition, us thinking about our own personal growth. But it's also a very important word when it comes to your other relationships, right? Presence builds your relationships. It deepens them. It makes them more secure. If you're faking presence, if you're faking like you're attentive, like you're interested and you're really not, that can erode trust sometimes, right? So I think this is an important one to really make sure we kind of ask a few questions, like probing questions, because things we want the viewers to go back and pose these questions back to themselves, because again, this is a word that has a lot of benefit when it's used the right way. So we want to make sure it's practical, that it's accessible. And so you talked about things that you do when you feel most present. I think another thing that's important to think about is, when do we find ourselves pulled out of presence the fastest, right? What kind of things can we think of that we might encounter or that come to our mind that pulls us out of presence, that you're sitting there you're focusing on the moment, you're involved in the present moment, you're attentive to the present moment, and some other random thought, right, that has nothing to do with where you are right then and there or what's going on with you right then and there comes into your mind, invades your thoughts, and then takes your attention away for a period of time. So, and I know, and I'm saying that because I think these are questions that when I ask myself, I start to realize things that keep me from being present all the time, and the kind of things that we have to try to be aware of. Like if it's a time to think about a bill that's due in 2 weeks, that's fine. But if you're sitting there and you have a chance to be present in the moment, and this bill isn't due for 2 weeks, don't sit up there stressing about all the stuff that's going to happen around it. You know what I mean? That's just one example. But, I think, like, again, thinking about, being in the present moment, what's there with you and around you right then and there, or who's there with you right then and there, and not letting yourself get distracted or drawn off into your imagination, your thoughts, or whatever else, thinking about or being anxious about things that are on their way or that are coming to you, or something that you got to deal with the next day. And it's just like Jesus was saying, like, sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof.
Right.
If you can't change it, don't sit up there sweating it. But if it's something that you got to face, you'll be there tomorrow. You can be present in that moment when you get there. You know what I mean? And it's okay to have some period of time where you prepare or think or kind of plan for some of those things too, right? But it's about having that discretion of knowing when is the right time to be present in the moment with yourself or those who are around you.
Yeah.
Versus now is the time I have to kind of prepare for what comes in next.
No, that was
right?
good. So I think I need to backtrack on some of my thoughts because I think I kind of went on the deep end.
Okay, that's all right.
I went in space.
Right.
But that I think that is my personal. That's my own personal thing, right?
I think it's valid, bro.
But I think going back to what you're saying about being present in the midst of your relationships or with people or whatnot. Like for instance, like sports. We played sports, right? And I played basketball. There's a time and there's a time where you have to be available. You have to be present when the coach calls you up to sign in, right? To get on the court. You have to kind of erase any type of thought that would prevent you from executing your job the way you're supposed to do fully. You have to remove anything. Even a boxer, they say when a boxer prepares, right, for weeks, months, or before his bout, a lot of times they avoid relations with their wife. They avoid sex and different things like that to prepare their mind so they can be in the present, in for the task at hand or whatnot. But from that, I think the wife will have to understand and recognize that it's important for her husband to do, or any fighter, right? Or any. There's still a camaraderie, so to speak, when it comes to presence. You know what I mean? That I think that is something worth talking about as well. But go ahead,
for
bro.
sure.
What you about to say?
No, and I think that's very much what we're talking about too, because I think that like you were saying, yes, fighters and athletes of all kind might deprive themselves of certain things, and like you said, it might be something like a relationship or sexual or whatever else. But there are other ways to be present, right? If it is a meditation kind of thing, if it's a praying together kind of thing, or discussing, talking about the plan, talking about the approach, there are ways to be present in other ways that may not be draining of the kind of energy that a person thinks is going to be necessary for the task at hand, right? So I think that presence does, again, a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to deepening relationships too. And I think that when we take it from that standpoint, because again, there's this difference that we have to talk about between proximity and presence. Proximity doesn't guarantee presence, right? Proximity is I'm in the area, I'm sitting here with you, I'm talking to you, but we've already discussed how I can be within proximity and not be present.
Yeah.
So I think we have to be aware of different ways we can be present, different ways presence may manifest itself or may show up. It's being there. It's like if I'm sitting here and I'm talking with you and trying to have our full undivided attention on the conversation and not wavering off, and I'm not sitting here and thinking about something else while you're talking, that we're listening to each other and engaging. Like that's the same thing it's supposed to be like when we're talking about presence that's going to establish or solidify or hold on a relationship, right? So yes, some things may have to be given up, but that doesn't mean that there aren't other ways we can be present with one another, right?
Man, that's pretty good. I was just thinking about like what you were saying there. There's a sense of partiality that can show up too, right? Because what a person is saying, you may not really care for that person that much, right? And so those, man, it happens all the time.
For sure.
You know,
For sure.
you could have managers or whatnot that you go to about a situation, and like you said, that even though his body there, but his mind is so far off. I mean, even God says that in Isaiah, right? He says that, you know, who has what acquired or required you to come to my gates. He said that, you know, your body's here, but your heart is far away from me. You see what I'm saying?
Same thing.
So it's the exact same thing, right? So even God recognizes within his own creation that we are subject to vacillating or going there you go, a mental drift. You kind of drift off a little bit. That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah, distractions.
Yeah.
Right, thinking about those distractions, man.
You know, one thing that I was thinking about before you go, I know you have a thought.
I'm good, bro. Go ahead.
I do want to put this right here from a history concerning the word, right? So presence has been central to spiritual and philosophical traditions for thousands of years, right? Buddhism emphasizes mindfulness, like we talked about, and awareness, right? Of the present moment. Stoics taught attention to what is within our control now, right? In modern psychology, presence is linked to emotional regulation, flow, and well-being. I think that that's something that we need to address as well, that this is something that we should be practicing more often. It's just not like central to us, but this is across the whole world, and so to speak, and for centuries and centuries. And the way society is today, I think that this conversation needs to be looked at a little bit more when it comes to a present, where are you now? What are you doing? You know, don't even think about the next steps. I think the present is the moment, the very moment. Who are you? What are you becoming in this very moment right now? Right. You know what I'm saying? But
I love it. I love it. No, that's good, man. Because I'm looking at too, like a, you know, I like to find like where there's like a little saying you can kind of put to these things to kind of make them make sense, right? Or to kind of remind you of what the thought is behind the word. And I'm looking at like, you know, presence is attention with intention, right? So it's making up your mind that I might get distracted. Like you said, our minds are just vacillated all over the place where we have like these fleeting thoughts and everything else. But making up in your mind that this is the time I have to be present. I need to be emotionally, psychologically, mentally available at this point in time. And then choosing to be there, you know, for whatever that moment calls for. And again, there's all kind of different things. You're talking about mourning with a loved one or just some kind of conversation that needs to happen. But a person making a decision and showing intention to be present and in proximity, not just in proximity, right, is an important thing, because it builds up that trust. And
say that again.
Attention with intention.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, just being available.
What if you have this aspect, and this is something that we have to exercise, I believe, at least with me, that let's say a person that's a nuisance, right?
Right.
Come around, right? And I
love that you brought that up. Thank you. Go ahead.
you know, because easily a person that takes up your time.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And the things that they bring are not, you know, it sounds so mean, right,
I know,
man?
But it is what it is. It is what it is, bro.
I guess to you at the current moment, it's not any value.
Sure.
Okay, for that current moment.
Sure.
How do you strengthen yourself that you, in that moment, will be able to allow your presence to receive a person that is very hard to entertain? You know,
I know exactly what you mean, bro. I think it comes back to discernment, what we were talking about before, right? Because there's a whole lot of people out there that would love to just waste your time.
Yeah.
Because they may be talking with you, and again, we've seen this before, right? You're talking with somebody, and in that exchange of conversation back and forth, you can tell that while you're speaking, they're trying to stomp on what you're saying. They're trying to jump back in and wait for their opportunity to make their next point. They're not paying attention to anything you're saying whatsoever. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, you're drawing me into this conversation, but you don't really want it to be a conversation. You want me to sit up here and just listen to you, and maybe I don't find what you're talking about valuable or value added at the time.
Yeah.
So I think that we have to exercise that freedom still too, to say, I'm going to be discerning. I'm going to give my attention with intention. Again, intention when I say it's time to, when I decide to give that attention. But we have to also be careful to guard our time, to guard our energy, to guard our attention, and not allow people that don't have your best interest in mind, that aren't trying to contribute or aren't trying to be made better or whatever the case is. You have to decide, what does that line of demarcation for you look like? Where is that line where I'm going to give attention and going to give presence versus when I say I'm not going to? This isn't value added for me. This is not for me. This is nothing I have an interest in or want to contribute in any way, shape, or form. I'm out. You know what I mean? So that's serious. It's just, it comes back to discernment. You have to make a decision and make up your mind when is the right time to be present versus not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I
keep it real, bro.
That brother said, I'm out.
Bro, I'm telling you.
So this attention with intention is very important, man. So and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying that you do have so this says something right here. This says teach presence as allowing, not controlling.
Yes.
Okay. So encourage presence that includes thoughts and emotions, not one that suppresses them. Presence becomes healing when paired with kindness and acceptance.
Yes.
Right. So we've already established a couple of these words already.
It sounds so much like empathy, doesn't it? What you just said.
Yeah, it sure does. Yes, absolutely. And once again, it all ties together, right? So what we're doing is really trying to make it actionable, right? So when we do come across these, and it's not if, it's when we come across these conversations and people in discussions, we'll be able to learn how to execute what mode and possible. So I really believe presence is like one of those things, like going back to attention with intention. When you are intention, that's the why. That's a process that's purposeful, right? So a person that's a nuisance that comes to you and or a rude person, a very rude person.
It's on down the line. Offensive, selfish. It's a whole bunch of things, bro. Go ahead.
Across the board, right?
Sure, yeah.
So we've also used this word called temperance, right? The temperance is self-control.
Yes.
So with all of these things, I think that the temperance part is tied to presence in many, many ways, right?
I agree with
that. So when I look at this actionable thing that we have to consider is being able to not allow ourselves to be affected. And so, okay, I'm gonna say something that might not be well received. Okay, so we know the situation where Moses in the Old Testament he struck the rock, right? God told him to touch the rock, and most people know the story, right? That Moses went along and he struck the rock instead, and because God wanted for one thing, he was trying to prove a point, but he wanted to get the water coming from the stone, touch the stone, allow the children of Israel to receive this water.
Right.
Got angry at him because of the murmuring, the complaining, and different things like that. To me, that is a moment where Moses was not he was in another type of presence, if I could say that, right? And so he struck the rock, right, and that made God angry, right? So a lot of people would say, like, well, Moses was disobedient. I say to myself, like, okay, all right, fine, whatever, right? But I say that God was trying to teach him that he should have been in the presence. He reduced himself. And that's what I'm saying. Like when you are when you use presence properly, you're not reducing yourself to your emotions, right? You're using presence and stillness, temperance as a mode to calm down so the right actionable result can be clearly seen. The outcome can be true. Everyone is benefited.
Sure.
Not only yourself, but everyone that's around.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So that's kind of like what I was looking at that story. So hopefully I don't offend anybody when we're talking about, well, it's not that he was disobedient. It's not. No, let's look at the story a little bit further. Like Moses is he is a pillar. And when you have your pillar reduce himself in that moment, it's only in that moment, right? Where he could have did something a lot more greater, which God was trying to get him to do. You know what I'm saying? So that I wanted to use that as that. That's attention with intention that was not really utilized at that moment in time. So I don't know. What do you think about that, man?
And I think that's where there's like a marriage or a joining of presence with last week's word with metacognition, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what I think is one of the main benefits of metacognition is once you understand what it is. And like we were saying last week, if I try to sit there and say, I'm going to sit here for 5 minutes and meditate, I'm going to clear my mind, I'm going to not think about anything but sitting here, breathing, and be present in the moment and see how fast other thoughts start running through your head.
Yes.
In that same situation, and this is not to say we could have done better than Moses or what Moses should have done. It's taking and learning from the example to give us a blueprint of how to do things better when we can, right? So presence and metacognition in that moment would have looked like realizing, okay, God told me to hit the rock, but I also have anger with the way the people are responding to things right now. And if and kind of stepping away, withdrawing yourself from the situation, like I'm feeling anger, but metacognition says, okay, why are you feeling angry? Why? What is it that you're letting affect you? What externally? Because there's nothing internally that's going to set you at war with yourself and make you angry like that. So what external influences are you allowing to make you feel like this? And then how do you want to respond to it, right? And that's where there's the danger of responding without discernment, without pause. All these words we've been talking about is because that if you have that emotional immediate reaction, you might have regrets after the fact. And I think that's what we kind of see with Moses in that situation. Versus this thing happens, if I have to have enough presence of mind to say, this is a situation that's making me angry. Do I either need to withdraw myself or pause, press the pause button, sit there and kind of think for a little bit, don't respond, don't react. These are the things that we kind of, when we say we want to make this a practice of presence and a practice of metacognition, it's not saying that don't be angry. That's not possible. You're human in a situation, in a world where people challenge you and things challenge you. You're going to get angry. You're going to get sad. You're going to cry. You're going to experience all these things. That's the part of being human here, right? You're going to experience these things, but the thing is, you can take control of how those things affect you.
Yeah.
How do they help you to grow? How do you grow from those things you experience? And what do you pull out of these various circumstances to try to make yourself better? Because, going back to what you were saying before about somebody comes along and just wants to take your time, for me, the discernment is two things. Can I do any good there? And will I... how can I minimize harm or negative influences to myself? If one of those two things is at risk, I'm comfortable using discernment to say there's no point for me to be here or to give attention or presence to the situation. I'm going to go find something else to do. Yeah. But if one of those things are, if you can do a lot of good, minimum harm to yourself, and sometimes that's conditional too. Right, but it's, you have to kind of weigh the situation and see, is this something that deserves my attention, that I choose to give my attention and my presence to. But we have that ability to say yes or no to that. You know what I mean? But having that time to stop and think, okay, what am I feeling and why? That can give you enough separation from the emotions to kind of have control over it versus letting it have control over you.
No, I agree with that, man. That's interesting, man. I think about a lot of people. Leadership. I think about leadership all the time. I think about Moses. I think about, Jesus. I think about, and this is very important. Mike actually sent a text a couple of days ago about how Jesus approached all these situations. And I'm going to just talk about this because I can't remember all of them. I think there was like maybe 10 or 11 or something, like probably more than that. But I do believe that Jesus did go away for that time to be in presence, be for himself to
You use the word self-regulate.
Self-regulate. You know what I mean? There you go. Self-regulate. That's it. And I think it's very important because when you're dealing with people, you're dealing with spirits. You're dealing with people with different behaviors, different mentalities, and different things like that. Different ailments and illnesses and different things like that. Because of the illnesses alone, you're going to bring different type of mentalities.
Yes.
And some people are some people mentally are impacted in different ways, some softer and some harsher. You know what I mean? And when you're a leader and when you're dealing with that, you have to be able to know how to manage your thoughts in the processes in the midst of all this.
Definitely.
And just think about it. Like Jesus was being followed all the time, all the time. To go back to what you said is, to me, was pretty good because you said, do I sit here and I entertain you didn't use this, but I'm saying this, like, do I continue to entertain this, or do I bring any value to this? You see what I'm saying? Do I bring, because even Jesus said that, hey, I can't even do any miracles in this area.
Yep.
Why? Because they lack faith.
Yes.
You know? And so the thing is, what did he do? He moved on to another city. You see? So when you're talking about, I don't know if that have anything to do with presence, but one thing that I was thinking about is I think Jesus valued presence. You know what I mean? But a lot of times people don't really necessarily value the operation of presence, because presence takes work. And it takes responsibility and discipline. Oh, man, there you go. Yes. The discipline of it. Going back to what you said the other day, if you sit down and just for 5 minutes, try your best to meditate and try to concentrate on nothing else but maybe one thing or nothing at all. It's very, very hard. If you learn how to practice that, I believe that you are able to strengthen certain areas of your psyche, you know, and you might see certain abilities and functions come out if you just learn how to slow down. You know what I mean? So presence to me is very, very important, and is very, very, I'm using very again. So very, very important, and is very powerful tool that I believe that we don't take the time. Just think about it. Once again, I'm gonna go back to society. This thing right here doesn't allow presence at all. Right. I mean, you know, every once in a while people put the focus button on, you know, because this is a distraction, man. You know, and the only reason why I have TikTok is because of small, like, little things that I do. But for the most part, I wouldn't be doing it. It's a huge distraction. I understand. But the way society is, you almost need that in order to, not necessarily need it. It's a useful tool to engage with other people. You see what I'm saying? And hey, you connecting with people in Africa, you connecting with people with Germany, China, Japan, everything across it's beautiful. It's a wonderful thing, but you have to be careful because you're going to lose presence from that. Yes. You know, in my mind.
It's designed to take presence away from us, right?
Yeah.
And that's the important part, man, because it's that's the intention of the device. And again, a lot of good things, like, you know, I'm in the same boat. Some of the main reasons I use social media is for, like, business stuff. It's not personal. I'm not. And again, if people want to put their lives up there, interact with other people that way, that's fine. I'm not that kind of person necessarily, but it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It's just not the thing that kind of floats my boat or whatever. But you know what I mean? But, you know, but it's just, you know, there is a lot of distraction there, and it's just, you have to be, because I find myself, and this is where, you know, it kind of, again, on this topic of presence, I get mad at myself sometimes because I'll be looking on social media. I might go on there to do one thing, and I happen to look at this story, and then you start doom scrolling and everything else. Like, why am I looking at this? Are you looking at these stories? I don't care about this. You know what I mean? It's like, and I have to kind of, like, remind myself as I'm looking or thinking about responding, or, like, I don't care about this stuff. It's like, you know, I just turn it off, and I'll, you know, it's my wife laughs at me sometimes. I'll turn it off and just, like, toss my phone away. She's like, "Are you mad?" Like, no, I just don't want to have that thing on me right now. I don't want to be distracted. I don't want to be in the mindset that the device is trying to get you, kind of bait you into. You know what I mean? And it's just, you have to realize there is a lot of science and psychology that goes into the design of mobile apps and on our telephones. A lot of it.
Yeah.
And as we're talking about presence and distraction and attention, that is the biggest threat because it's designed to take all your attention away.
Does a good job.
It does a great job. So it's like, that's where there is benefit in taking some time to be present. And again, in the present moment, away from the device and just kind of be aware of what's going on around you, especially when and I can't say this enough, especially when you find yourself being influenced by external factors to feel a certain way.
Oh, man.
When you have something outside of your space or your area or your circle that is making you feel some kind of way that's not good, that doesn't feel good and that you don't like, that is one of the best times to stop and be present and find out why you're feeling the way you are, and do you really want to let this thing that's making you feel like that have that kind of control over you in your life? And that usually is the thing for me, that the thing that might be making me upset, I don't choose to have that thing have that kind of domination over my life.
Yeah.
And just stopping long enough to have that thought come back to me sometimes, it's enough to say, okay, I'm done with this. I'm putting it down. I'm going on to something that's more productive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. Yeah. That's a very, very good point, man. I think that something that robs you of the value of presence is something to be noted.
Yes.
Right? And number one, time. We are not outside of time.
Right.
Right. But presence. We should be operating outside of space and time.
Sure.
Okay. I really believe that, because I think that healing is a part of that process, right? What you just said right there, by throwing your phone away, that means that there was a response to something.
Yes.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to be there's a part of you that don't want to be controlled. Why? And to me, that response is something that you needed to do at the time in order for you to start the ball rolling. And this is powerful, man, because you brought up the word design. These apps, the software, I use it every day. ChatGPT, I use it all the time and different things like that. Hey, man, I'm about to use it in my job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It might be a chance it's going to replace me. It's not that if, it's when it's going to replace me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but it's all good, because what it does is it prepares me. It prepares me for something greater. You see what I'm saying? That I know. When you have metacognition, okay, let me take a step back. We're human beings. We are a biological entity which are mind, spirit, soul, and the body, right? You and I were talking earlier about when I create a song, I did a writing, and I asked ChatGPT, hey, make a song off of this, right? So I did a writing. I did a long writing, a poem, and a thought process, and it actually made me a song. Or it wrote me lyrics. And so I put it into another software, and it produced me a song. Song is great. And you said it's amazing how that AI is able to take your song and make something very similar to something that you would make anyway. Because you heard the song, and you was like, man, that sounds like something that you would have made, right? And the reason why this is phenomenal to me is because if AI can produce something that is almost identical to what we do, we're not in presence enough. You know what I'm saying? We're not. If AI, that means that we have a very limited bandwidth of understanding and of wisdom. If AI can think very closely to humans, You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
and I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying that this might be something we need to we need to get a little better at.
Pay attention.
Pay a lot. So if they can spit out something within minutes of what some of the scholars have done for centuries, I think we need to think more. we got to think a little bit more. We are biological. We are. If you read scripture and it says that we are made in the image of God and after His likeness or whatnot, are we doing? What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Are we actually applying this? Because if I turn on the news and I see arguments from Republicans and Democrats and this and that and another thing, and I'm thinking to myself, like, we are constantly moved and bombarded by information.
Yes.
And a lot of stuff we can't do nothing about,
Right.
at least immediately.
Right.
You know? So that's the reason why I have to take a step back and be in the zone, in the presence. You know, in the present moment, in that moment, and try to root out and cancel out every single thing that will cause me to do something that I'm be afraid that
That's right.
I won't know what I'll look like at the end.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's
So
right.
what are your thoughts, man?
And I love, too, because this kind of ties into what you were just saying and something that you said earlier, because you mentioned the word leadership.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And I think that presence is a very, very important, I don't want to call it a skill, but practice that a leader should take, right? Because, again, especially when you are, as a leader, you're usually in a position where you can affect other people in whatever capacity that means, right? Because it just depends on what kind of leadership position we're talking about. But you have a position where you might be able to impact the lives or feelings or well-being of other people. And I don't think there is any role where presence is more important than for a leader. So if a person is going to be in some kind of leadership position, that's where, again, some kind of practice, some kind of routine that tries to build up that as a skill set for us, I think is going to be very important if we're in leadership. And I love where you're going with it, because it's like, just as far as like the attention grabbing and the distraction, and you know, GPT is just every single thing you do with it is always like, can I do something else for you? You know what I mean? And it's just like, and there are times when I force myself away from it for a period of time, because I'm like, I don't want to get to the point where I get out of the habit of thinking
100%.
and working through a problem. So I might go back and use it once I think something is mostly done. Like, hey, give me some suggestions on making this shorter, because I'm long-winded as ever, as if you all didn't know that on the show. But make things shorter, make it more concise or whatever. But I don't want to take myself away from the process of creation. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to fully outsource that. You know what I mean?
agree.
But I do want to try to find ways that could be more efficient and faster with it. But I don't want to lose myself, and whatever.
No, you good, man.
Yeah.
So let me chime in there
Yeah,
real
yeah.
quick, man. So this is one thing that I want to make sure that we make this as clear as possible for us. We all have to find a way. AI is not going anywhere, right?
That's right.
Use AI as a tool, but don't use it as a
Don't outsource your brain.
There, perfect. Don't don't outsource your brain to it, right? Because the word you said earlier, or the phrase you said, the creative edge that you have, right? You don't want to lose that, because, and that's kind of what I was talking about, the biological. Like, this brain is a muscle,
Yes.
and you have to exercise
Yes.
those neurons. Those protons, those neurons, those electrons. You have to. You have to. If not, you're going to fail. And so that's why I think that this conversation is so important, to be in the presence. And exercise that. And God has given us that ability to do that, of meditation. Across the board, just the stillness, the meditation. Are you at attention? Who are you? What are you becoming with all this? Start asking yourself those questions.
Absolutely.
When you start asking yourself certain questions, right? More questions are going to arise. And those questions are not to convict you or to make you feel that you're less of a person, but the questions are there meant to build you up.
Exploratory questions.
Exploratory questions, right? If you're not doing that, man, listen, I I don't want to talk about, but I was just going to say certain conversations I have with certain people. I'm thinking to myself like, okay, you're 50 something years old, right? And I'm thinking to myself like, I should be learning from you, not from you learning from me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that that's the key. A lot of the times where I hate to say it, but like at my job and certain things, when you talk to certain people that are older or whatnot, you would think like, man, I know I'm repeating myself, but I think I'm just trying to make a point that there should be a hunger for growth. I don't know how to show that, like I'm dumb. And that's the reason why I ask questions, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, for real.
That doesn't mean you're dumb. You're seeking to grow, right? You're seeking to grow more.
Well, I know what you mean. I'm seeking to grow. But the reason why I like saying that is
the reason why I like beating up myself is, go ahead, bro.
No, because I got somewhere to aim.
Got you.
You see what I'm saying? I got somewhere to aim.
Yes, brother. Wow, man. Wow.
No, but anyway, man, this is the show. Let your words count. We are so happy that whoever tuned in, you're here, man. We are so thankful for the viewership and those that are chiming in and commenting and whatnot. Please follow us. If you have any words, we have a website, www.letyourwordscount.com. Hey, we have a YouTube community. If you want to have a discussion on that, please talk. I think one thing as humans we don't do is we don't communicate enough. And how else you going to grow unless we learn from one another? Let's build each other up. All right, let's have these conversations, hard conversations. Bring up a word. If you don't know it, let us all grow together. I might not know it either, but I'll look it up and we can all have some fun entertaining that word. All right. So my name is Ethan Merriweather. I'm signing out. This is G.
Later.
God bless you.